Hey everyone, I'm so happy you're here guys today with me because we have two very interesting people in the show today. We have Philip Berntsen, founder and CEO of Frigg, and Thomas Bocek, CTO and co-founder of Axelra. Can you guys quickly introduce yourself?
I'm the CEO, responsible for managing the business and also sales. So we can go into the details afterwards, but project origination and distribution. I have a background in mathematics, so I'm a mathematician at heart. I'm also currently doing my PhD in quant finance.
Cool. And you, Thomas, who are you?
My name is Thomas. I'm the CTO of Axelra. So I have a technical background and I did my studies at the Faculty of Informatics at the University of Zurich. I also did my PhD there. So I finished. It was a really awesome time there. And now since 2018 at Axelra.
Cool. So today we're here because we want to talk about Frigg. So Philip, can you introduce your startup?
What we do at Frigg is that we have developed a software that allows renewable energy developers to issue debt on-chain. And what we want to be is sort of an end-to-end turnkey solution for them to access capital via our software. So we are also in the same instance providing that particular software with access to these projects to a broad range of investors. And we are targeting mostly institutional investors. So we're operating under a B2B business model with our software.
Okay, cool. And once upon a time, the Frigg's team met the one of Axelra. What is the story behind the collaboration and why did you choose to work with Axelra?
So we needed technical expertise that could help us on various tech stacks. And we were investigating where we could find those kind of capabilities and did a couple of interviews with some providers out of the States, but ultimately decided to go with Axelra because, I guess we'll get into the details, but just the general impression of the people working there, the complete offering of the end-to-end tech stack that we needed, particularly on the blockchain side where we were at that time a bit weak.
You could build the prototype, the MVP actually on record time. How much did it take to build it?
So I'm not sure in complete number of days, but if I remember correctly, around 3 months. Might have been faster actually. And that was very impressive for me to see from the outside, having a very small team as part of a startup, with Axelra coming in with their team, which was at least 3 people, and working together so seamlessly was definitely something that amazed me a bit, as particularly the fact that we had mutually compatibility skill sets, and that coming together in realizing the MVP was definitely very rewarding to see.
Okay, and Thomas, how was it possible to be so fast from the technical part?
It's not the first time that we did blockchain integration, so we have knowledge, we have the expertise in doing that. And we also reused the things we could. So one thing was that we used the Uniswap widgets. It's an open source widget which we could use. We could adapt it to the Frigg use case. Of course, there are also some restrictions. We had to brainstorm with Philip, what are those restrictions? How can we get around these restrictions? And by reusing already existing things, we could be that fast.
Cool. And what was the main challenge you had while developing the MVP?
I would say, so from a global perspective, it's, as I mentioned before, it's to map the use case in such a way that it's compatible with the DeFi world.
Okay.
Because taking the use case and putting it in a blockchain, this doesn't work.
Okay.
And so Philip came with the idea, and for us it was like, okay, why not do it like that? And you said, okay, there are regulations, you need to do this, this, and that. And then with this kind of solution, we found we could actually map this use case into the DeFi world. And I think this was from a global perspective, I think that was the challenge.
Were there any other challenges you had to overcome?
we were looking for benefits that decentralized finance could deliver to solve traditional finance obstacles. And one element here is really to try and create liquidity for the underlying assets. I think that's sort of the core premise that DeFi promises to deliver to inherently non-liquid assets. And in that, there were obviously challenges in terms of structuring the financial product in such a way that it, on the one hand side, complies with the regulatory framework, but also serves the purpose of that secondary market liquidity. And since we, with Frigg, are focused on bonds traditionally, they pay an annual interest rate and also a premium, or not a premium, but a bullet payment amortizing the debt. And when you think about an asset actively paying out interest across multiple jurisdictions, a lot of legal complexities come into play. And one of the most prominent ones is the one related to tax. So when an entity pays out interest to its investors, immediately there is a governmental entity looking to get their hands on the taxable cash flows that are coming from there. So the way we thought about it is to structure the security in such a way that the asset itself doesn't actively pay out interest, but rather the secondary market is actively pricing a fair value or putting a fair value on the underlying asset, i.e. the debt security. Hence, we decided to structure it as a zero coupon bond that doesn't pay any interest or doesn't amortize throughout the tenure, but rather it is a bullet payment at the end of the term. The benefit of that is that throughout the term, you have secondary market liquidity that ideally should uphold the fair price evolution of the bond. And in that way, you also circumvene the withholding tax on the interest rates.
And the secondary market, this is a decentralized exchange. So you can basically trade your assets at any time. You mentioned it's every year with the traditional, in the traditional world. Here in the DeFi world, you can actually, in the next 15 seconds, you could already sell it. So it's a huge benefit, and it covers, or not it covers, it maps this use case nicely and even better to the DeFi world. Okay. So that's my point of view from a technical side. So I really like this idea, how to solve this problem.
Great. Sounds crazy to my ears because I'm not an expert in that, but at the same time, it sounds really amazing. Now, Axelra handed over to Frigg, right? So what are the next steps for you guys at Frigg?
Oh, we have obviously a grand vision, and now we are also at the stage where we could successfully do the handover from Axelra and what they built together with us, in that we have built up internal capabilities that allows us to fulfill that gap that Axelra left. And with that team, we are now looking to expand our product offering by basically creating an order book of projects from various project developers and distribution channels on the other end. So we are at that stage where we're actively seeking partnerships with financial institutions that are seeking access to digital ESG assets. And on the other hand, project developers that are seeking financing in a more efficient and scalable way.
Cool. So thank you very much, Philip, for all these insights. So interesting. Thank you also, Tom. And I would just say, guys out there, we see you at the next Spicy Podcast.